All right, welcome everyone to the July 17 meeting of the Capital Improvements Committee. I've called the meeting to order. We've had our security briefing. I will entertain a motion to approve our May minutes. So moved by Mr. Grabowski, seconded by Mr. Johnson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Next item on the agenda is approval of today's agenda. Mr. Johnson moves, Ms. Grabowski seconds. All in favor? Aye. The agenda for today is approved as well. We received a packet of information, including our normal financial information, East Boston revenues and budget. This cycle, it was informational only, but I would ask if anyone has questions. Mr. Jackson is here and he'll answer any question we have on any of the financial information. I will note, just for the record, that E4 tax revenues continue to exceed budget and exceed previous year comparable collections. But as we all know, construction costs are going up as well. And from a quick review of the financials, we're continuing to prudently manage cash flow. So if anyone has questions on the financials, though, please get with Mr. Jackson later. And moving on to operations, the goal today was to go through long-range facility plan phase 2. I'll turn it over and we'll go there.
So, phase 2 plan is the second part of the phase 1, which you have already seen it before, is building on the foundation laid in phase 1. And the purpose of this to discuss is the critical renovations, new construction, strategic dispositions of the properties. That's what we have tried to do this in this. The reason for this is maintain and enhance our school facilities, modernize and ensure safe and efficient school environments, address aging infrastructure, accommodate growing student population, integrate advanced educational technologies, and balance both immediate and long-term needs. And why it is needed: safety and compliance, educational excellence, operational efficiency, and community engagement. Okay. So the first part is the current Mercer Middle. We are planning to convert into an alternative school. It will house Savannah Chatham E-Learning Academy. It will also house Building Bridges Middle School and High School and Wings program. We are currently in the planning programming stage, which is continuing and will continue for till the end of the next year. Then we plan to have construction started in a year later and renovation, and then final inspection and move in by July 2027. We are planning to do the design in E4, and if there's a possible E5, then we will be spending the money from E5 to do the construction. The second part is Port Wentworth transformation. You know that this was an elementary school earlier. We have changed it into a campus police. Right now, they're occupying the major part of it. Then we are also moving academic staff and professional learning departments, which are in the process of moving right now. Then we also intend to move records management team and print center eventually. There's an ongoing renovation going on, and we are upgrading the infrastructure to make sure that it already has a new roof and HVAC systems are being updated. The timeline is there for current renovation. We intend to complete by 2025, and then we'll move the records management and print center in 25 and 26. We're also thinking, since the buses are stored there currently, we're also thinking that we should pave the field and ensure that those buses are safe there Then we have this Whitney complex. We propose that this property should be disposed of and the funds received from this to be reallocated to more pressing needs within the district. This building is suboptimal. The occupancy and utilization is not there. We don't use it very well. The money received will be a revenue for us, and after doing cost-benefit analysis, we realize that selling the property is a better use for us because there are no long-term benefits for holding on to this property. We are currently in the process of finding alternative places and moving people out. And one of the major places is Port Wentworth, the people from here. Then we are doing the relocation of those departments. The property evaluation will be completed very soon. Then we will advertise and sell. That's what we propose. The other one which we would like to dispose of is Thunderbolt Elementary School. This is in a very bad condition, the building. There is no future need, and the opportunity cost of maintaining an unused building is not cost-effective use of our resources, and it will also generate some revenue which can be used for other purposes. There is a timeline. This can be sold very quickly because it's already empty. We also would like to propose rezoning students from Juliet Low, A.B. Williams, and Formey. Right now, currently, the Formey is in renovation, which will be completed by July 2025. And then currently, the students are at Schumann. And we propose that Schumann needs to be absorbed in the A.B. Williams, Low, and Henderson Formey. Henderson Formey, once it's renovated, it's not considered a building or a school for us by Department of Education. We need at least 300 students between kindergarten and first grade. So this was discussed in phase 1 also, but somehow it got pushed. So by the current number of students, it will have 373, but we will work with transportation to figure out, and the principals. We will also have a community and staff engagement meeting before this happens. And then the A.B. Williams will become from 2nd grade to 5th grade, and Low will absorb the rest of the students. The favorite building of everybody, 208 Bull Street. We all know that it is a historic building, and it is not in good shape. The recent assessments have highlighted several deficiencies. It is outdated. Infrastructure and technology is missing. It's very hard to keep it cool or warm as needed. And there's a lot of other issues with the building. We have already advertised and received some feedback from the use by Ms. Wynn, and there were 4 or 5 proposals. One is lease to private party for renovation. The second one is retain ownership with third-party management, partial or complete sale, public-private partnership, and other solutions. I think you'll get more detailed information in a different meeting. We propose to have a new academics and administrative complex. Even if 208 is retained by us, there's not enough space for everybody in our academic staff. They're occupying space in lots of different schools, which they should not be. The schools should work as schools. So I propose that we should have 2 buildings built at the current Schumann. One will be academics building, and the other one will be administrative building. The academic building will have, we can have the ground floor for academic programs, and the upper floor will be used by bringing everybody in academics in one location for easy coverage and easy programming. The next building would be administrative building, where we'll house all the other departments like technology, finance and purchasing, human resources, including the board office and superintendent's office and other departments. The timeline is that if you approve all this plan, we'll start preparing the plan. We will do all the designing and programming in E4, and then hopefully the construction in E5. And I would like to have it ready by August of 2027, but that means we need decisions made as soon as possible. The Montgomery Swing site, it's under renovation right now, and our plan is that by July, we will be moving J.G. Smith here for the renovation of J.G. Smith. We have already advertised for the renovation of this project, and it'll be ready by July of next year. It's being done in conjunction with J.G. Smith renovation. And we already had one community and staff engagement with Ms. Denise present there. We intend to have a couple of other engagement meetings to make sure that everybody's on board with us. J.G. Smith is also going through a planning and designing phase currently, and we intend to start construction in July 25 and back to school in July of 26. Garden City Elementary renovation. This was part of E4 original plan. Once J.G. Smith moves out of Montgomery Swing site, we intend to move Garden City there for a complete renovation of Garden City. It also needs lots of things done, like roof, new HVAC, classroom renovations, and we have a timeline for this too, like start design in January 25, relocation in 27, and then back to school in July 28. The Coastal Middle School renovation, we have piecemealed this renovation a few times, but since we just finished the front office and we did some in the cafeteria, but we left most of the schools untouched. So I intend to go back and finish everything so that once we leave this, we will be having a well-planned, everything, their needs met for this renovation. And we also plan to start June of 25 and complete by July 26. Georgetown K-8 renovation, as you know, it used to be an elementary school. We turned into a K-8 school, but it still has most of the things as if it's an elementary school, including a gym, which is elementary school sized. So it does need renovation. It needs a new roof. We did some HVAC renovations, but we need to make it better, and we will be also relocating the school to Largo Tibet, which I'll be talking in a little while. And we will be relocating the school to Largo Tibet and then do a renovation 1 year and then back to school, back to their own school. If everything is approved, then I intend to start the design right away and start the construction next year. Garrison K-8 renovation. This renovation is already in progress. A new HVAC system is being done currently, but we also intend to do LED lighting, security vestibule, front office reconfiguration. This is a very old building, so it needs a lot of improvements. And it was also an elementary school, so it needs a new gym as well. So we intend to build a new gym for them. But since we cannot swing the school because of its special needs, we will be doing it as in-house while the students are in there. We have talked to the principal, and we'll be also doing community and staff engagement meetings there. Hubert Middle School renovation. This is also one of the things which we agreed on before E4 was passed, that it's on the list, and we intend to do a major renovation there to make it into a new school, or from E4 budget. West Chatham Elementary and West Chatham Middle School. We plan to do the renovation together. They're on the common building very close to each other. There's enough land in between. So we intend to put portable classrooms, just enough classrooms for one wing of school at one time. So let's say if we start with West Chatham Middle School first. So we will empty out one wing, which will go to the mobile units for a short period of time when we do the complete renovation, including HVAC renovation. Then the wing goes back. The second wing comes. So each school has 4 wings. So it'll be done in phases, one wing at a time with complete renovation. And it'll take 2 years to do. A study is in progress right now, and the portables, our plan is to have portables by July of '25 and construction completed by '27 for both the schools at the same time, one wing at a time. We also propose that a new land should be purchased in West Chatham County. There was an enrollment study which was conducted, and Ms. Wynn will be presenting that study sometime in near future. And I think they reached the conclusion that we do need a new high school because of the growing needs of West Chatham County. And the purchase of the land will be funded either through E4 or fund balance. You've already seen that presentation. So the timeline is there that we should buy the land as soon as possible. Then we will start the design and planning, and the construction will be hopefully done in E5. STEM Academy at Bartlett. Currently, it was in the renovation phase. So we already have a design for renovation. But when we looked at the design and we challenged a few things, that it would be like putting lipstick on a pig. So we propose that a new school should be built in that location. It's, the building was built in pieces. There was a real school, then a building was added, then a building was added, and it's one of the top schools. It's a STEM school, and it was built in '60s. So we propose that we should demolish this building and create a brand new school meeting the needs of the school. We had a meeting with the principal. She wrote a beautiful letter to Dr. Voss explaining her desire for a new school. And once we plan to start design as soon as possible, as soon as you guys approve for it. And then we will swing the school to Largo Tibet for a couple of years because it'll take 2 years to build the school. And other key projects under construction is Pooler Elementary School renovation. It's an old building. It needs a lot of help. It's like J.G. Smith, not enough land. So it has to be, we will swing the school for 1 year and modernize it. Then just like we added to Godley Station, the expansion and growth there. And then we also propose that a new Windsor Forest Elementary School.
Mr. Batra, yesterday I happened to be driving a friend by the front of 208, and they were astonished at its beauty and grandeur. So they don't know what lies beyond the front door. But in terms of it being something that people who haven't seen it before think of as a very wonderful presence for us in this community, that was certainly reaffirmed to me. I had to chuckle because, of course, I knew how people who work in there feel about it as opposed to someone just driving by. We just heard at Jenkins High School from our professional learning staff, and they seem a very important part of our organization, especially for the new teachers coming on. And I'm thinking being housed out at Port Wentworth is kind of an outlier, but I'm wondering if once Schulman is prepared for the other academic staff, might there be an opportunity for the professional learning staff to come in from way out there?
talk about the aspects of having an academic center there, it would include all of academics, which to me involves our professional learning
Okay.
staff.
All right, okay, that's good to know. In terms of the Juliet Lowe, Formy, A.B. Williams, I'm happy that we have a definite plan. I just think that we're going to have continuous community engagement, not for their opinion, because we've decided this is what we're going to do, but to be sure that at every step, people understand what's going on and see the benefit of what we're doing. So it shouldn't just be a one-time meeting, but several community meetings to,
Yes.
rehash so everyone understands that this is going to be a real benefit for our students. In regards to the E5, since we're starting to mention this is going to be funded by E5 and this, that means it's time for us to get to work, I think. Okay? Because this is not, we've been so successful, but this is never a given. So if we're starting to say this is going to happen, $20 million because of E5, we need to make sure that we're getting the ball rolling on that. And lastly, the purchase of land in West Chatham. I hope that's done in a very transparent, highly ethical manner so that people see from beginning to end, this is the process, this is who we decided on, but that there is no wonder of, how did these particular people end up selling the land, that it's transparent all the way through. Because we're already hearing, grumblings, which you do. Of course, the public is going to always grumble when you're talking about lots of money and East Block's money that they provided for. So we need to be ready, that all of us board members are in accord and know, our talking points so that we're successful in getting this done because it is needed very much. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Grabowski? Mr. Johnson?
Thank you for the presentation. Lots to absorb, and I know we still have lots of conversations that we will have. I think it would be helpful to kind of see it visually somehow, if there's a way to be able to do that, particularly, so I think there's kind of two components. There's the admin staff side and those facilities and what those will look like, kind of what the end goal is. And understanding the opportunities for collaboration between different departments and how the support will work. I know we do a lot virtually, but I think we also know the value of face-to-face, and I would just appreciate understanding what that big picture looks like. And on that same front, do we have an estimate of the square footage that we need for our administrative building that's being proposed for Schumann?
So I do not have a plan. This is a proposal right now. Once you agree, accept this, then I will have all those details. So I am about to start the meeting with staff of every department to find out their needs.
So I'm going to have a real hard time approving something without knowing that number.
course.
Because I think for us to be planning for a facility when we don't know what size facility we need, that's a really critical piece of information. So I hope that that can be made available.
Yes.
Sure.
It's a balance of not getting the horse before the cart or the
Right.
cart before the horse.
Right.
So we don't want to engage all of our staff and their needs if this plan is not, we don't want to get people involved in the planning if the board does not intend to approve a site for us to do that. But I understand what you're saying as well, like you need to know the specifics.
Well, I think we know,
It's a
I mean,
balance.
we need an admin building, whether it stays at 208 or whether it moves somewhere else. We are hearing that 208 is too small.
That's right.
Okay, so based on what?
Yes.
You have a list of departments that you want included in this admin building, so I would anticipate we have an idea of how many staff we're trying to serve. So I don't think, I don't think it has to be a number, this is the absolute number.
Okay.
But I think it's reasonable to understand a range of the
Yes.
building size that we're looking at. Personally, I am very, this is something I'm going to have to think very long and hard about supporting a move of our core administrative to the Schuman site. I know we own the property, which is obviously great, but I'm not sure that's an appropriate location for an office-type building. I also think that there's a civic presence that the district has, and I would like for us to explore opportunities to keep our civic presence closer to the downtown core. I realize downtown proper, the central business district, may not be feasible, although I do have some thoughts on that too, happy to discuss later. But as an institution that is so fundamental to the strength of this community, having a presence in the downtown core alongside the city of Savannah and alongside Chatham County, from a civic presence standpoint, I think that that is an intangible value that we need to be very mindful about. Sorry, that was a tangent I didn't mean to go down quite yet, but it's something that I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about that last night. I just think it's something we need to think a lot about. And as far as the schools, I think it'd also be helpful along the comments of Ms. Hall in understanding how these different transitions will happen. If there's a way to be able to present that graphically, perhaps our communications team can talk about that. I think that's going to be important. A couple of specific questions and comments. For Thunderbolt, do we have any latitude over kind of offering that first to the town of Thunderbolt since it's so centrally located to the town? I don't know what the legal
Yes.
requirements, okay. Because I think that is, just from a community standpoint, it's not a very big town,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's such an important piece of property for them. Also, and I'm glad to see Hubert included in the renovations, and I'm very glad to see the bullet about outdoor classroom design. I hope that that's something that's not a one-off, but something that we can look at in every single school renovation and new construction. I know we are still working on the design guidelines, which is another topic, but as we go forward with this, if those design guidelines are still in process, I hope that that's something that can be brought forward. Going back to the academics and admin complex, I know that there's value in having academic programs with the admin complex from a funding standpoint, but curious if there's been discussion of any of the 3 identified approaches being embedded in a school, kind of like a choice program, or like what sets these apart at being at this facility versus in a school-based program as a choice program?
Just very early
Okay,
discussions.
Yes.
okay, all right. And then finally, as you know, I certainly support the reconstruction of STEM. I do think that being able to provide a building that meets the needs of the school is very important. And then lastly, on the land purchase, I hope that we will consider looking at, there's a document that was published by the EPA's Office for Children's Health that's all about school siting guidelines. I know we have guidelines from the state of Georgia, but this is one that's really focused on the benefits of children's health when we're looking at new school locations. So would encourage our facilities team to take a look at that document and use that for additional guidance as we're considering the criteria. And to Ms. Hall's point, if we have objective criteria that we are using in our site selection, I think that can increase our transparency to be able to demonstrate to the community what criteria we're considering as we evaluate various properties. Thank you.
Definitely.
Mr. Johnson?
I'm very glad to see a lot of stuff in West Chatham on this list, just because of the growth. The land purchase has been pretty transparent to this point. I know we have had staff working with the city of Pooler and folks out in West Chatham, talking to citizens, meeting with the mayor out there and her staff. It's been imperative. I've been talking about it for a while. I'm very glad to see the commitment from this administration to understand the growth, the population growth out there and the need for it. Glad to see Pooler back on the list, Pooler Elementary. It's a great little, it is a great little school. They have great people out there. They're doing amazing things, from Leader in Me and other programs that they do out there. It's an old building, and it's definitely needed to be renovated for a while now, so I'm glad to see that on there. When it comes to the admin building and 208, I kind of look at those together. If we are going to be moving everything into one and into a different location, I understand the idea of having it near the City of Savannah City Hall as well as the county. However, we know how much it costs to maintain that building. I know we've all talked to people who work in that building on a day in and day out basis, and there are issues they have in that building. I also know that as a district, if we did end up selling it in part or in whole, that would definitely help our coffers. So I'm supportive of this plan. There's some things that I had questions about. I thought about, I did some research on it. Amazingly enough, on the first rendition, I don't have an issue with the plan. And I know that surprises the superintendent. Because I always have some sort of issue.
Mark this day.
I know it will change, but I like to see, I like where facilities is going with it. I like the ideas. I like the not setting anything in stone. And even with 208, there's different options with it. And I know those are going to start narrowing as we talk as a board, as staff continues to talk with what our needs are as a district. So I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this.
Roger?
Ms. Hall,
I just wanted to ask Mr. Grabowski if you can get that wellness information to all of us. I'd be very interested. Thank you.
so first of all, and I am totally in agreement with Ms. Grabowski regarding Thunderbolt, offering it to the town of Thunderbolt first. Do we have a timeline as to when we're going to advertise the sale of Thunderbolt? Because this is something that, we could do like yesterday.
Yes. So this is a proposal for you to agree on. You say yes, I go sell
Oh,
tomorrow.
as soon as we, okay, that works, that works for me. Okay, number two, on Schuman, how many acres is Schuman on?
16 acres.
16.
A lot of property there.
Wow,
a lot of
okay. And I will echo, I actually like the idea of moving the administrative to that site, namely because there are 16 acres, and I would love to have a site where we have everything, including where we have our board meetings, professional learning, everything in one site. I love the idea of being downtown, but I don't know if we're going to be able to find enough land, enough property downtown outside of 208, and everyone knows how I feel about that. So, yeah, I love this plan. What is enrollment at Windsor Elementary? Are we?
Currently has almost 600 students, but I'm not sure, but I can get that data.
Okay, what was that building built for?
It was a very small building to begin with,
Okay.
and a couple of additions were added. So it can house the students, but it's built in 60s. It's in a bad condition.
No, I get it.
No
I get it.
renovation has ever been done on that building.
No, I just want to make sure that as we're making these changes, that we're able to fill these buildings.
Yes.
Regarding property in West Chatham, I'm all about transparency or everything, but prices are going up daily. And we need to have jumped on this years ago. And I don't want us, spending so much time, worried about, yes, we'll be very transparent, but here's the deal. in order to build a high school, there are X number of acres you have to have.
That's right.
And they're not aplenty.
That's right.
So, but I love this plan. I will, regarding 208, I'll just say this. We're in the education business. We're not in the public-private business. We're in the education business. And I would like us to stay in the education business. Okay. So.
Anyone else?
I do have one follow-up.
Ms. Grabowski?
I know you're early. Would be interested, though, if you anticipate making some just initial projections. So there's a number of properties proposed for sale, and there's a lot of, obviously, new construction and renovation. If you've started to do any of the financial analysis about projected income from sales and expenses from the construction side.
So it is still too early to tell you all that.
Is that something you're going to take a look at is that part of your anticipated planning process as you
Yes.
continue? And do you have an idea of when that type of information might be available?
I think maybe within 4 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, I will amend my statement. One thing I would, because it's something I've talked about before, one thing I would like for us to look at, and I don't want to throw a wrench in or anything, but with some of our properties, entertaining workforce housing, so.
All right. Mr. Batra, thanks for your presentation. I've got some comments, some kind of macro and then micro stuff. And this is going to be rambly stream of consciousness since I've been here for 11 years. We've had several different leadership changes from the superintendent on down, so I get priorities change. And our needs have changed in the last decade just because of population trends and enrollment trends and birth trends going down and all that kind of stuff. So I get it. I get the need for flexibility. I'll go back to something we talked about a year or two ago. What are our big guiding principles when it comes to facilities management? And I think phase 2 is a good start. There's a lot more work to be done. It addresses a lot of the issues in our facilities condition assessment. It starts tackling some of the population trend and enrollment declines, the moves we're going to see in the declines in enrollment that we're projecting given birth rates and population trends. But there's a lot of unanswered here. So, if this was to go to a vote today or next week, I'm no, because we need a lot more information. So just, from a macro standpoint, I get the idea of using E4 money for planning and E5 money for building. But if E5 doesn't pass and we spend $50 million in E4 planning, then it's kind of a waste of time and money. E5 won't be up for a vote until somewhere in May or November of 26. 26. E4 started 1/1/22. The vote was in October, November of 21, right? Yeah, so it started in 22, 5-year program. Okay, of a spring, but it started in, am I right? January 22 it started?
Jan 1, 2022 is when collection started. The vote was November of
Right.
2020.
Okay, so it ends 12/26, which means E5 would be voted on sometime in 26, but would start in January of 27. And typically, we don't start spending that money until the second or third year because we're accumulating those funds. So I'm concerned about spending money now on many projects. At a minimum, it would be prudent to wait until an E5 vote in 26 to know if we're going to have an E5 program before we devote a significant amount of funds in E4 for building an E5. That's more of a macro concern if, if it's $500,000 on planning that's going to help us down the road, even if we have to use general fund money or bond money because E5 doesn't pass, I get that. But if it's millions of dollars, that's going to be a concern. On the sale and administrative issue, I get selling Whitney and Thunderbolt, given location and life cycle and all that stuff. I'm concerned about Schuman as a site for multiple reasons. One, and this is tangential, but we're putting a lot of administrative staff out at Port Wentworth, which to me is kind of an isolated island, hard to get to.
Until
Not-
we figure out what we're gonna do.
I hear you, but not on this plan. This plan, we're moving more people there, we're paving the parking lot, we're paving the fields, we're moving our security, our SROs there.
It may have not conveyed with the intent. Most of the folks that are moving to Port Wentworth, it's a temporary holding spot.
Yes.
It's not a permanent place.
Okay.
It will maintain its presence there for our department, our police department. I think the idea of maybe having buses there has come up as a potential permanent place and having some transportation. But in terms of any staff connected to academics, professional learning, once we acquire a site for our administrative team, they would be a part of that.
Then we'd have a half-empty Port Wentworth again. Then we'll have to do something at that point with that facility.
That's right.
Okay, again, this is all, we're just talking, right?
Sure, yeah.
I'm not saying I support it or I don't. But if we're looking at locations that have max commercial value, Port Wentworth is prime real estate for the logistics industry. Schuman is a predominantly residential neighborhood. It's got access from two sides by two-lane roads, one of which is jam-packed in rush hour. And then the other side of Schuman is Savannah Golf Club. There may be more commercial, it may be a more valuable land for a developer than it is for the district. And well, the point I'm making is this: we should use existing land, like Schuman, and that's part of the thought process here. But we need to think about the commercial value of where we're staying and where we're not staying. And until we get the results of the bids on, or the responses to 208, we haven't seen those yet. So I don't know what's been proposed. I don't know what staff likes and doesn't like. So I don't know where I stand on admin stuff until we see what's going on with 208. We've been talking about 208 for a decade, and there's always been a split in the board and staff on, it's a nice historic building, we want to be in central Chatham County, but then nobody wants to spend money to renovate it like it needs to be renovated. That's an ongoing dilemma. We just need to fish or cut bait, whatever colloquialism you want to use, we have to make a decision, but we have to back it up with money if we're staying. So until we know what's going on with 208, I have my only concerns about Schuman. It's a residential neighborhood, kind of off the beaten path like Port Wentworth is. On Thunderbolt, the mayor has reached out several times. There's several developers who are interested. I too support talking to the mayor and the municipality if they want it. I don't think we give it away for free. That's not our role as prudent managers of school district funds from a tax perspective, but maybe there's a collaborative process that can happen there, half the land, I don't know. We need to have that conversation with them because it is located within that community. And that kind of dovetails into some comments about STEM and Windsor Forest Elementary. On a macro level, my mind should be, we should be looking at using facilities where we have space, okay? Windsor Forest Elementary is landlocked. STEM, I'm laughing because in the 3 East Bloss, STEM was going to be torn down and rebuilt, then it was going to be renovated, then it was going to be moved, then it was back to being renovated. Now we're going to tear it down and build a new building there. So that's been in the last 7 years. And part of the concern there is it's a landlocked, small site. You want to maintain the sports field there. So there was discussion about building up a few stories, but then that was vetoed. So for a school like STEM, which is a choice school, it's not a neighborhood zone school, do we have an option to move it somewhere nearby, but where we have more space or we have capacity, and then sell that site, which is on a main thoroughfare in Midtown? So I just want to think about that, because it's a choice school. It's not impacting, most kids are driving there, and the traffic there is really bad too. Windsor Forest Elementary, landlocked school, but we've always had this affinity for neighborhood schools, Jacob G., Charles Ellis. Well, Ellis is a little different. So if we have to decide, are we going to maintain an affinity for longstanding neighborhood schools like Pooler, Bloomingdale? And if so, I'm fully supportive of renovating Windsor Forest Elementary, but that location and site has been divisive within that community as well. So we just have to think through, do we want to maintain and put money into landlocked locations like that? I just want to make sure we have a thoughtful process there. I think I've hit kind of my main points. The only other thing is like Southwest Elementary, Southwest Middle, Rice Creek, those are sites where we have extra space.
Yes.
To me, it seems more preferable from a managing fund standpoint to build on existing space rather than go buy new space. And the point of the complex out at the Old Groves was to create a flexible complex where we had the space to do choice programs, elementary, middle, and high school, and be able to adjust that space given our particular needs. When we last talked about doing something comparable at that Southwest complex, we were told we can't do anything else because of wetlands issues. So is that accurate or not? That's an issue. Rice Creek, we talked about doing more than just tinkering because of its location on the northwestern side of the county, and we have space there.
Yes.
So those issues should still be talked through. On the Pooler land purchase and high school, Mike, we've been hammering on that issue since E3. So we're supportive of it. We know there's various options out there. We have to continue to move quickly on that. We haven't moved quickly enough there. So those are my kind of off-the-cuff comments, first blush. I look forward to more iteration on this plan, and we need a lot more information, particularly on the 208 proposals. Ms. Hall?
I'm very pleased to hear of the common thought that Thunderbolt is prime for sale, and that we would give the community their first options on it. Do we have a very recent appraisal of that property, Mr. Batra?
Yes, we do.
We do?
Yeah. I
Okay,
think Ms. Wynn just got it done recently.
okay, all
$1
right.
billion.
Well, I think that will be a very wonderful occurrence. And Dr. Watts, I guess this whole thing of trying to operationalize things as opposed to continue, because I've been here since 2012, and a lot of this we've talked about since then. So I'm hoping by summer's end that we may have had the discussions that we needed and made the votes so that you're free to move ahead come fall.
I really
on some of
appreciate
these
you
things.
saying that, Ms. Hall. The goal is to continuously engage in conversations, get feedback from the board and other stakeholders now through October. And then in October, we would like to propose that the board give us their final endorsement of the plan or parts of the plan. So I am managing my own expectations that while there's been a tremendous amount of work put forth on this, a lot of conversations and equity hours and blood, sweat, and tears, that this is not our final plan, and we know we owe you all more information. This was just our first attempt to get our thinking more transparent.
It's good. It gives us something to, respond to, so.
Ms. Grabowski?
Certainly, Dr. Watts, it's clear there's a lot of work that's gone into this. So thank you to the team and everyone who's had engagement and involvement in this. I support Mr. Katchmar's idea about STEM, that, perhaps looking at other properties in the area, and then that would keep them from having to swing. They could just stay where they are, which would be nice. I think we do need to, I think there's value in in it still staying in the same general geographic area if possible, but because it's not a neighborhood school, we do have that more flexibility. And on the neighborhood schools, I heard Mr. Katchmar mention, is this something that we're committed to? I would advocate very strongly that we need to remain very committed to our neighborhood schools, not only because they can be identified as part of that local community, but also the tremendous value of our students, families, and staff being able to walk or bike to school. That helps both their physical activity. We know there's lots of evidence about academic improvements with physical activity, and it also cuts down on the number of people who have to drive there. And then I had mentioned in my comments about the admin building some other thoughts about where that could be, and I'll just go ahead and share. So while we were sitting here, I looked up the acreage of the property that we have at East Broad. We have 12 and a half acres there. That property is woefully underutilized. We have huge surface parking lots. There's a portion of the property, so we have opportunity on that property to build on East Broad or to build on Liberty Street. And I would really love for our team to evaluate that as an alternative site for a new admin complex. It's easily accessible, it's on our existing property, and it would really help to improve the utilization of that property and just build synergy. And it's next to a beautiful park, so.
Two comments there. One, the plan 5 or 6 years ago was to specifically build a 40 to 50,000 square foot building on the East Broad property for admin and other centralized academic purposes, and that would involve selling 208. But that's been a proposal for years, and it's kind of gone by the wayside. Number two, and this reminded me, my other question is this. We've always been told we can't spend East Blos money on non-academic capital projects. So I saw one of the proposals was, use E5 to build out Schumann.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we're careful on segregating the funds appropriately and making, as we're managing a budget, and making sure legal vets what we can use East Blos funds for and what we can't. Because that was part of the holdup on 208. We couldn't spend East Blos money on renovating 208. So then there was talk about floating bonds or using general fund or rainy day fund monies, fund balance. Again, none of that's materialized, so. Any other comments, thoughts? Mr. Batra, I know you're standing there by yourself presenting this, but I know it was a team effort, superintendent and you and the facility staff, while managing all of our existing projects, and we have the updates in here as well. So thank you, and thank you, Dr. Watts. We know this is a continuing conversation. It's a good start. We appreciate the work. Anyone have anything else? All right, next meeting is August 21 here at 9 a.m.
Do we need to reschedule that because of our retreat?
Okay, I'm just reading what's here.
I know.
The next CIC meeting will be rescheduled, and it is not August 21st, and there'll be an announcement forthcoming on our website.
And there'll be topics in the retreat that address our plan.
So it'll likely be after the retreat.
Yes.
Sorry, Sean.
Kurt's giving me 2 thumbs up. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.